Hey everybody, it's Matt with Downrange Warbirds. We are back for an update. Let's see, stuff that's going on. Bunch of work on the fuselage got done in the last 2 weeks. Lots been going on. I know I'm not doing like daily or even bi-weekly updates or anything like that, but catching up when I can. I've been trying to grind as much out as I can, so there's more to put in these updates. So, fuselage, doing some patchwork. Use the staple gun. Don, thank you for that tip. Use the staple gun when you're doing the skins on. I had a lot of separations. A lot of them are really good joints still, but I had a lot of separations where there wasn't equal pressure all over the skin. Staple gun's just cheating. Yeah, it's a pain because you might get a couple of them or break off or whatever, and you got to pluck a little harder. It's a pain removing the staples. You're not going to get an argument out of me out of that one. That being said, if you don't do it, you don't get equal pressure on that skin on that frame, you're going to get some separations. That has been remedied today. I went over everything, so all that's ready to go. Let me show you some of those areas. So this is the fuselage in its current setup and condition. You can see the pre-cut holes, which I'm already going to tell you right now, not the right size for our also completed wing spars, but we'll talk about those in a minute. So back here, you can see where I had to do some patchwork. Little spots. It wasn't a lot of crazy stuff. There were a couple that were separated a little more, partially on the bottom skin, but some of these had some separations. A lot of them was one, maybe two staples. You can see where I had to improve upon that. It's tough to see. You can see where I marked them. Just to get a little extra pressure on them. A couple staples here. That's on one of the gussets, so that just needed a little extra thickness. Those will get removed. Those are actually, this gusset's actually going to be for our tail wheel. And you can see the other gusset in the bottom. So there's our tail wheel gussets. More to talk about on there. A couple more staples. Skin skim separations, but most of it is in very, very good shape. No separation, nice and thick. Those are freshly stapled though, but no separation. Most of them actually came out pretty good and pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with that. So I did some extra reinforcing in some spaces too, just because they're important. You can sort of see that there. Sorry, garage is open. So wing spar holes. You can see a series of little weird marks right here. I actually set the wing spar up on top and started figuring out the calculations for exactly where that's going to go. Let me swing around, I'll show you the wing spars. All right, we got really good adhesion on there. I ended up just covering the whole thing in weights and compressing it against the concrete floors. That actually did work pretty well, though staples would have probably been easier, but the back end is going to be way more irritating. Later this morning, I'm supposed to go to Dave's, and we are going to plane these to make sure they are perfectly flat. And based on the thickness of the gaps there, they're a little on the thick side, probably just under I'd say a 16th-ish too thick. I'm going to double check my measurements before I go over there, and then we're going to make sure these fit. So we're going to thin these out, thin the top skins on both sides out just a little bit, just to get those to fit in there a little bit, and then we might have to route out these gaps a little more and then adjust for height based on what we're actually working with. That should be pretty straightforward. Measurements on this, so my front face is not perfectly straight. What I did was, as you can see, is I clamped on a screw right up against that bottom lip and used that as my center point. That's my center line. That appears to be my center line all the way down the fuselage. Marked that from there and then used that as my anchor, and then mounted my main wing spar on the bottom skin, how it was going to sit, and then clamped it in place right along our markings here, and then measured it to figure out if these were square. These are close. These are very, very close on both sides. So that is pretty much almost perfectly perpendicular to center line, which is what we're looking for. So I took those measurements. These are pretty much marked, and I know where I need to trim and what. I'm going to finish planing these down in the wide belt sander today. Once that's done, I'm going to retake the measurements to make sure everything is still the same. Cut that notch, and then we're probably in the neighborhood of getting center spar mounted up. Rear spar I didn't mess with yet. just because if both of them are going to get planed, both of them are going to change thickness a little bit, I'm worried that there's going to be a positional shift. I haven't messed with this one yet, so there's no measurements on this one. So I'm going to wait to do all of that. That'll probably get done hopefully soon. I'm hoping we do get to plane this today, and if we do, then Monday morning before work, or Monday after work for that matter, I'll probably start looking at getting these fitted, and if not glued in place, I'll probably get them mounted in place. But this is the first time the whole fuselage has been upright since this project has started in this condition. Super, super excited about that. So you can kind of see what we're working with for the interior shots. All right, next thing I wanted to talk about was tail wheels. So, where are my gussets? Tail wheel section. That's actually going to go right in here. So the way the tail wheel works is it's kind of a scissor mechanism almost. There'll be a post that comes out here, a post that comes out here, and same on the same size. And it'll actually fold out. And when it folds, the tail wheel mechanism will actually be sitting under here, so the wheel will actually be in here, and then when you deploy the tail wheel, it literally just bump, pops it out, and deploys it. I've got the materials to start working on that at the shop. As soon as I turn off this video, I'm actually going to head over there and take a look at that too. So I think that's everything I've got. You've seen the spars, you've seen the fuse. We'll go look at some of the mechanic stuff that I've got working on at the shop next, and hopefully I'll get this posted this afternoon. All right, so this is the tail wheel print. So if any of you are building one of these at home or thinking about it, you're going to get a lot of sneak previews on this. Obviously, we've got our tail wheel assembly. You can see where that's all going, and there's the mounts for the mechanism. If you were wondering what I was pointing at with those two parts, those are those two, that gusset and that gusset is where those are actually going to mount, because that's 4 verticals back there, 4 firewalls back. This guy will actually rotate, boop, up when it's in the compressed position. So what we're working on, see, there's one gusset, there's the other gusset. So what is on the to-do list for this week, or one of the many, is those brackets for this mechanism. So you've got the upper and the lower brackets. That's going to be on 4130 tube. Let's see, this is 1/2 by 1/2 square tube, 0.035 thickness, and then 3/8 inch 0.65 4130 tube. So that's going to be for that. So this is all square construction. That should be pretty straightforward. I've been pretty successful with those welding projects up to now. Same thing with that, and then we'll have a couple of 0.065 gussets here, and then a couple more here, and the actual cross tubes that are actually the angle. I just need to figure out how to make sure I can keep those straight so that when that rotates, it rotates perfectly. It isn't going to like click because it's not quite squared off of each other. And then it's just a matter of mounting that up. And there's a vertical view of those brackets and where those mounts are going to go. And just for point of reference, that's the size of my finger versus the mechanics that are actually involved in this mechanism. So I will get the guts of this cut up and tacked together probably pretty soon. So looking forward to that. Now that I got a new metal cutting saw, it'll make things a lot easier for chopping these up instead of just using a hand grinder. Should give me a little more precision. So kind of stoked about that new blade. So stay tuned for that one, and I'll show you the last couple of things that I've been working on. All right, and the last couple of things that I wanted to show off. I think I might have given you a quick preview the other day of my send cut send order and what that looked like. So I've already cut off the tabs. I think we talked about those already, but look at that, the precision on that. I'm super stoked about that. You can see I've marked where these need to get cut down, and the reason those need to get cut down is this will actually fit in just like this, and this will actually sit on top of that. So those need to get cut, and you can see where Sharpie sits. Those will get cut even, and then these will actually get welded together, and this will get welded to the face of the tube. So, oofta. In theory, This little unit will mount up just like that with that other bracket on top. I think we've actually got one. Here we go. This will look better. This will actually mount up just like that. These get spread a little. They're a little narrower. I had to do that for a couple of reasons, but not important. Those will get spread a little bit, welded in place, and then these will get mounted just like that, and that's going to be our trunnion. And then this bar is the diameter of what the axle is going to look like. So that'll sit right in there. And then this is the actual lock ring that'll hold everything in place and also make it removable at some point in the future. So that'll all get put together here pretty quick. I need to do some more fitment on these. It's really, really close. I mean, you can see it's, looking at it, it's super, super close. I need to do a little bit more trimming on these, just bring them up a hair, and then I will tack the tops together, press those wings out where they need to be, press the lower wings in where they need to be, and then get those lined up on here so I can tack them together and see how those are going to look. Super stoked about that. On top of that is the mounts for the main tube. So right now I know this just looks like a bent piece of metal, but this is an experiment. So this actually gets welded here. This is a full band that's going to go all the way around just like that. So it'll be sitting just like that with the extensions. And this will have a couple of holes, get rounded over and a couple holes drilled in it. And that's going to be what the landing gear mount will actually use to grab and rotate the gear up. So it'll rotate from here, it'll mount to those pins right here, and then from here it'll the arms will rotate up. So that's our actual gripping point for that mechanism. So that's what that's for. The bend is just an experiment to see if I can just put my weight on it to bend it around there, and you know what, I actually can. I'll probably end up using my press. We've got a 12-ton press sitting in back, so we'll probably end up using that. But it was a good experiment to see how much I can do by hand and then kind of adjust from there and then cut to length and where we need it to go and then drill and call it a day. So it's also an experiment to see how straight I could cut this with a just a regular cutoff wheel, and you know what, it turned out pretty good. I don't really have any complaints. So that's on the front burner here. Same thing with the tail wheel, those little triangles. I'll probably cut those first, and then we'll start cutting the length of material and kind of getting that prepped. And then it's a matter of once those brackets are cut for the gussets, I'll actually put those in the plane, just apply those little tape, take some measurements to figure out exactly how everything needs to be, just so all of those dimensions are exactly what they need to be. Because I'm sure the blueprints are perfect, but how my fuselage actually turned out is more a product of my construction as opposed to being absolutely perfect. I think I'm close, but that being said, close and perfect are different animals. So I'm going to make sure I get the measurements off the aircraft itself so we can get that in place, and we'll have that tail wheel mechanism in ready to roll. Once the trunnions are done, then it's spending a small fortune on steel to get the rest of the landing gear equipment. So that's kind of where we're at so far. We got a bunch of very nice completed pieces of steel, a lot more welding projects to come, get that squared away, and then a lot more assembly. So hopefully, knock on wood, we'll have a lot more fuselage progress to show off and a lot more landing gear related progress to show off. It would be nice in the next month or two to have this sucker on 3 wheels. Not likely, but it would be nice. And at the very least, if I can get some of the mechanisms and bracketry in place, it'd be really nice to put it on wheels, even if I have to jury rig up just rollers so I can move this thing around, as opposed to leaving it up on the table and making it so it's completely immobile. So lots of big progress. For everybody watching, thank you. For everybody who's giving commentary and advice, also thank you. Oh, there was one other commentary about the Rotax 915 not fitting. It will physically, from everything I can see dimension wise, it will physically, with all its accessories, fit within the confines of the fuselage itself, front of the firewall. Dimensionally, it will fit inside of that aircraft. Whether or not I go that route is to be determined. I'm still a ways away from that. Anybody who's local is familiar with the big bank project that's going on, the giant commercial building rebuilding project I'm doing. So all of my finances are kind of tied up. I do not have $38,000 to drop into a brand new motor. So this may turn into a shopping, depending on how that goes, and if I can sell the Tennessee property, will dictate if I'm buying any kind of a fancy motor and which one I end up doing. The 915 is kind of the goal. That's kind of the fantasy. We'll see what I end up going. There's a lot of options out there. I'm still talking to other aviation guys and home builders, so I'll probably make a final determination later on. But yes, that would be, in a perfect world, that would be my ideal. For 140 horse, I think that'd be perfect from that. People I've talked to building these things, that's probably a good power range for these. So now it's just a matter of if I can get it, if it fits, all the good jazz that goes with that. I'm going to AirVenture this year, and I know Rotax had one last year on display. So I'm going to go this year with a tape measure, and we're going to take some measurements, talk to the Rotax guys, see what they say based on the weight and power and dimensions and all the stuff that I have to work with. The nice thing with the Warhawk is it's a very, very tall fuselage, especially up front because we have that big, giant air intake. So it gives me a little bit of extra wiggle room. So long term, we'll see what I end up picking. We're a long, not crazy long, but we're long enough away from that it's not going to be a huge priority to make that finalized decision. But lots of progress, a lot more to come. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you'll see a ton of additional progress. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.